Hey everyone, this is PM Sport Talk, the father and son duo podcast. I'm your host Preston, alongside my father Mike and Dad. How are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. We had the big game yesterday. It wasn't the biggest game ever, but we'll talk about it anyway. I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, we got actually a bunch of sports to talk about today. A lot of stories, a lot of great stuff from sports this weekend. But we'll start with the NFL, but we're not starting with the Super Bowl yet. We'll save that for a little bit later. I want to take it to the awards, the award show that happened just before the Super Bowl. And honestly, Dad, I am not mad about any of these winners. I think they were all pretty deserving.
Yeah, biggest one, of course, being the MVP. Pretty close race between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Could have went either way. I don't think that would have been wrong if it went either way. But I'm glad they went with Josh Allen because Lamar's won it 2 years, won it last year. And I really feel like he was aided this year by having a Hall of Fame running back there that played lights out.
Right.
And Josh Allen didn't have that.
And not only that, but Josh Allen, he didn't have the best team in the world, obviously. That offense didn't have a single star wide receiver to throw to, and he led that team to the second seed of the AFC, one game away from playing in a Super Bowl and a 13-4 record, and it is called Most Valuable Player for a reason, and I think Josh Allen definitely was this year.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, I would say. Lamar's stats probably a little bit better, but you got to look deeper than stats.
Right.
So, like I said, it's valuable. Who's more valuable? And he's definitely more valuable. Like you mentioned, their second best offensive player is probably James Cook and maybe one of the tight ends. I don't know. But like I said, their receivers are just average, young, average guys. They don't have a number one receiver.
Right.
So I don't even know if they have a two. I guess Shakir's a two. Coleman maybe will develop into that, but I don't know if he's going to. He doesn't. He seems more. Maybe they just have number twos on that team, and
he's a rookie though. So
he's a rookie. He could develop into a pretty good possession receiver there. So who knows? But as of this year, yeah, he's definitely deserved that. That offense was pretty much all Josh Allen.
Right.
Whereas, the Ravens had, like you said, they got two great tight ends. They've got Derrick Henry. Their backup running backs are really good, and they have a very good offensive line. So yeah, Josh Allen deserved that. As far as the other awards go, they kind of like spread things out because like Saquon Barkley got what he get offensive.
That's what I want to talk about before we go anywhere else. So obviously I think Saquon should have won it. That is the rightful winner of the award. But I didn't like how the voting turned out. You look at MVP and how close Lamar and Josh Allen was. It could have gone either way. I honestly think the exact same thing for the Offensive Player of the Year award, and I'm very disappointed that Jamar Chase, Triple Crown winner, by the way, 0 first-place votes. He placed third in the voting somehow, but he got 0 first-place votes. That man led the league receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. That's a Triple Crown. That's a historic season. Haven't seen it since Cooper Kupp, and before that, it's not been done in a while. That is a rare achievement that was underlooked heavily just because of the Bengals' record. And I'm going to say Joe Burrow played great. You can obviously put record into factor with that, I'm going to say, because it's called Most Valuable Player. Like we said, we got to go deeper than stats. But Joe Burrow obviously needs to get his team to the playoffs if he wants to win the MVP award. Meanwhile, Offensive Player of the Year, I think that's more of like stats.
Yeah, you're right.
And Jamar Chase didn't get a single first place vote. I'm honestly, I would feel insulted if I was him.
Who got second?
I'm not sure, but I know Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry all got first place votes, and Jamar Chase didn't get a single one. for Offensive Player of the Year.
The Bengals kind of got slighted. It's not like they did finish 9-8. It's not like they were a horrible team, and they started out horrible, but they finished strong.
Right.
So, and he's a Triple Crown winner. I guarantee you, if there was a Triple Crown winner on Baltimore or Buffalo, they would have been probably Offensive Player of the Year.
Right.
So, or Kansas City or whoever.
I think it's absolute bull that Jamar Chase didn't get any love in the award show, and that's pretty disrespectful, in my opinion, to such a historic season.
Yeah, he's probably the best receiver in the league right now. Maybe Jefferson, him and Jefferson.
I think Chase is definitely the best wide receiver now.
He's got the better quarterback throwing to him, so that helps. But it's neck and neck. I mean, you can't go wrong either way. But
No, yeah, Jefferson definitely can make a case. But yeah.
Chase. Yeah, just going off this year, you'd have to give him a nod. But
I think I know Josh Allen and Lamar both had great stats, but Derrick Henry getting first place votes, more first place votes than Jamar Chase is pretty crazy to me. I mean, Henry had a great season, not as great as Jamar Chase's though. So I think the awards is pretty. I don't think you can really get mad at it now because like they have guys like Myles Garrett, who's like third in the league and like everything like a couple years ago, winning Defensive Player of the Year. The NFL awards is kind of a joke now, in my opinion.
That's why I don't really take it too serious, these awards things, because they don't make sense. You know, T.J. Watt should have been the defensive player of the year last year. And it's not because we're Steelers fans. Just go look at the stats. Go look at he was ahead in every one.
Yeah, and if you want to look at the impact on the team, go ahead and look at the Steelers' record with T.J. Watt and without T.J. Watt. That is a big difference in the win-loss column.
Yeah, that's why these awards are I don't know how serious the players take them, but if they do take them serious, it's got to be kind of aggravating to some of these guys to know that to have guys placed ahead of them that don't deserve to be ahead of them. And I don't know. It's all popular. It seems like it's popularity more than. I mean, they just love Myles Garrett. Not to get off on a tangent here, but it just seems like if Myles Garrett has a decent season at all, he's automatically right there. Where T.J. Watt has to have an historic season and doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It took him tying the sack record to get a Defensive Player of the Year a couple years ago. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy to me, but I don't get too upset at these awards, like you said, because they're rigged. Gilmore and Garrett both had great seasons, none like T.J. Watt's when they won over him. But we'll leave that for a different time. There's your NFL awards. Your whole list of NFL awards I'll talk about real quick. So you got MVP Josh Allen, Offensive Player of the Year Saquon, Defensive Player of the Year Patrick Surtain II, Offensive Rookie of the Year Jaden Daniels, Defensive Rookie of the Year Jared Verse.
Those I agree with.
Comeback Player of the Year Joe Burrow, and then Head Coach of the Year Kevin O'Connell, which is good. Kevin O'Connell and Dan Quinn, both I would have been fine with. But I think O'Connell, if it's a regular season award, definitely deserved it just a little bit more.
I mean, 15-2 with Sam Darnold, who before this year, what was he?
Yeah, exactly.
He was just a journeyman backup that I don't know if any of us thought that he was ever going to get to what he did this year.
Yeah, that's an impressive season. So I think all of those guys definitely deserve their respective awards for sure. We'll move on though. So the NBA last week, all of a sudden, obviously this time of the year, this is where they love to boost their ratings because it's the trade deadline. And this year was absolute madness. We talked about a couple trades last week, but there was a couple crazy storylines. So I want to start. So the Hornets and Lakers, right? Get this. The Lakers, they trade their rookie first-round pick, Dalton Connect, for Mark Williams to get a center so they don't have to start Jackson Hayes the rest of the year. It goes through. They accept it. Both agree. And then just, I think Saturday, the news came out that the trade was being rescinded because Mark Williams failed his physical badly. So that's got to be so awkward now. I mean, look at this. They probably post all their thank you posts on their respective social medias, and now they're right back on the team.
Yeah, it's got to be really hard, especially for, well, either one of them, I guess. I mean, you're expecting to be on a different team, and now you're like, they didn't think you were as good as the guy you were getting traded for, but now you end up back where you were. So I guess if you're that player, if you're Dalton Knecht, who's a rookie, I think it might affect him more.
Yeah.
Because Williams, he's going back because he failed a physical. Mm-hmm. It's a little different. Knecht, the Lakers decided that they were better off without him and with Williams.
Yeah.
And he's a rookie besides, so it's going to be a little bit harder. But I guess it can go one of two ways. And I'm going to assume, unless I don't know if they can still trade for somebody else. I don't know how that works right now. I know the deadline's passed, but I'm not sure if they can still make a trade. I don't know. So I'm assuming he's staying on the team for now.
Yeah.
Unless we hear different. But I'm going to assume that he's going to take that and use it as motivation to make himself better and to prove to the Lakers, hey, it didn't go through, and I'm going to show you that I deserve to be on this team, and just have that chip on his shoulder.
We've seen Knecht play in college. We know he's a very good player.
Yeah, the Lakers didn't get rid of him because they didn't think he was decent.
Yeah,
they just needed a different position.
I honestly, they had to do what they had to do. Because, I think it was more of a position need than a shot at Knecht if you're really looking at it that.
But a guy like him can use that as motivation, and I would assume that he would, to just play doubly hard and prove, hey, make it so that, hey, you know what? We're not going to trade this kid because look what he's doing. There's no way we're trading him, even if we do need a center. So I guess it could go that way. And knowing he came from a small school before he went to Tennessee, so he kind of probably already had that mindset where he needed to prove himself. So I'm sure he will take that and run with it. As far as Williams goes, though, I didn't really know much about him. The only thing I did hear when this trade came about was that he was injury prone. So I don't know what they found in that physical. If I have no idea why he failed it. Apparently there must be something going. Whatever his injury was before, they must not feel too great about it for the Lakers not to pass. So I don't know.
Well, he did. He's a good player. He played at Duke for Krzyzewski, but he's a good center. The Lakers would have been good with him but the problem was being healthy, and you can't have that when you're having such a great season. So I think they made the right call.
But what are they going to do now?
Yeah,
are they stuck with Jackson Hayes?
Are they stuck with Jackson Hayes? They might have to make some calls to some veteran free agents. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that trade deadline works because I know in other sports, you have that trade deadline, then a couple weeks later you hear about another trade, and it's like, well, I thought the deadline already passed, but I don't know. Somehow they can still make trade. I don't know if that's the case in the NBA, but
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how that works with physicals. I feel like that would be a little bit unfair to both of the teams, but I don't know. But there's some more breaking news we want to get to this past week. So on last Wednesday, the league was stunned with a trade. Jimmy Butler has finally found a new home, and it is with the Golden State Warriors. He made his debut on Saturday against his former team, Chicago, when he was a rookie. and he played a very good game. And if this continues, the Warriors have definitely made a good move to sneak right back into the playoffs.
Yeah, it was a good move. Well, I'm going to, once again, assume that playoff Jimmy is going to be a thing maybe again. His attitude, I'm going to assume, is going to be good for at least this year. Until he decides that he doesn't want to play there anymore, and then he'll be the same pain that he always is. But I'm sure they're going to get the best Jimmy the best Jimmy Butler that is possible to have. They're probably going to get for the rest of the season. So, I still don't think that they're going to do anything myself. But yes, they're going to make the play-in round of the playoffs, but I still don't see them doing much. I would have them losing if they got through the play-in, losing in the first round. But because I just don't think the rest of their team's that good. But you got Jimmy and you got Steph. The rest of their team doesn't impress me. So Draymond Green is what he is.
Yeah, right.
And but to me, it made them better. But that team has no chance to do anything, in my opinion, in the playoffs. But I see why they did it, though.
Yeah, it's definitely a big move. Like you said, I do think this team can make a run in the playoffs as long as Jimmy keeps it in check, which I'm sure he will. That's what he wanted the most, a new team to play, and why would he sit out, right, at least for this season? So I think that's a good move for Golden State. That'll get him right back into contending. But I want to go to one more transaction in the NBA. It was a signing, actually. It wasn't a trade. Ben Simmons got a contract buyout with the Nets.
I saw this.
He signs with the Los Angeles Clippers, and I know I want to start. But if I'm here's what I'll say: if I'm a young guy or an NBA player who works their butt off to get a roster spot, I'm actually insulted by this. This is a guy that does not care about the NBA. This is a guy that will fake injuries when he feels like. He won't practice when he wants to. And he's a pain for his teammates who actually want to go out there and play basketball. I don't know why people are still taking chances on this guy. Zero teams should be interested in Ben Simmons. I know what you're going to say. I never thought he was good in college. That may be the case, but now you can't be signing him. He is an absolute insult to hardworking players.
Yeah, so, I saw this come across the screen. I forget what game I was watching. It was probably a college game. And I saw it come across the screen where he wants to he's choosing between the Clippers and there was some other team.
Cavaliers.
And the Cavaliers.
I don't know why the Cavaliers would want him.
And I'm like, excuse me a minute. He's choosing?
Yeah.
Why is he choosing? What's he done where he gets to choose anything? He'd be lucky if anybody would take him. He's choosing to go he's the missing piece for a championship team. What, are you kidding me? The ego on this guy. Does he actually think he's good? Does he think he's good? He's done nothing except for 1 year in Philadelphia, maybe 2, where he was, a playmaker sort of. Didn't, he scored some layups. Couldn't do anything else. What has he done in the NBA except sit on the bench and collect all his money? Mm-hmm. He's with Brooklyn, right? That's where he was.
Yeah.
Has he played this year?
A little bit.
Because I had completely forgotten about him. I didn't even know he was playing.
Yeah.
I'm like, then I see that. Oh, he's choosing to go to the Cavaliers or the Clippers, and I'm like, what? Is this real? I don't understand. What's he gonna do for a team? He can't make free throws.
He's a money collector.
He can't make free throws. He can't shoot threes.
He can't shoot the ball, period.
He misses layups. a 6.
This is a guy that has completely lost his confidence, and he chooses not to play. He's not hurt. Okay, he may be injured, but he's not hurt enough where he can't play. This is a guy that just sits on the bench, and whenever he doesn't feel like it, he's like, oh, I'm not playing today. Oh, I'm just going to sit and watch. Shows up in his street clothes, his fancy clothes, and just sits there and watches the damn game. I mean, come on.
I don't get it.
This guy is an insult to the NBA. I don't care what he has done in the past. This guy now, if we're talking right now, is an insult to the NBA. I don't know how much times I have to say he's lazy and he doesn't want to put in the work. I mean, people who say that for guys who are just underperforming, that's a little bit of an insult to them. But this guy just doesn't ever feel like playing. It's his decision when he plays. Coaches, he's a pain. Are we talking about Jimmy Butler being a pain? This guy is 10 times worse.
Yeah, at least Jimmy Butler produces when he plays.
Mm-hmm.
This guy doesn't produce. That's why I don't understand it. I just don't get it. So it's just. So did he end up going to the Clippers?
Yeah.
Does he have a big contract still, or
He's probably on like a 1 year.
1 year? It's like,
I can't imagine he's on anything more than that.
well, if there's a team he's going to go to, it doesn't surprise me because the Clippers are they just seem to do things like that. He'll fit right in because
I don't even know why the Cavaliers wanted him.
He'll fit right in Clipper
Sit
land
down next to Kawhi
because
every game.
nobody plays. So
Yeah.
they can all just sit there and watch the bench guys play. So it's like I don't understand it. It's just weird.
Yeah.
These guys collect money. I mean, he how I felt about him a long time ago. I thought he was going to be. I didn't think he was going to be any good anyway because the hype that he got when he was in college was just nuts because he couldn't play then either. He was a 6'11" guy in college, and all he did was make layups and dunks, and he couldn't shoot the ball then. I'm like,
What makes you think he's going to shoot it now?
why is this guy a number one pick? He's not going to do anything.
He may be the worst shooter I've ever seen play the game of basketball. I mean, centers aren't supposed to shoot. Those are like one in a kind guys. This guy is supposed to be a point guard apparently at 6'11". That's eye-opening to people, and he can't shoot the ball. What kind of point guard can't shoot the ball?
I don't understand they were just hoping that he was going to develop into something. I guess.
There's a difference between being like a decent to below average shooter, and then there's Ben Simmons. Then there's that level where you can't make a shot in your life. He can't shoot from 3. He can't shoot free throws. He can't even shoot from mid range. And heck, when he has an open layup, apparently he wants to pass it to a guy who's guarded by 2 people, which doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, he doesn't want. If there's any pressure, he doesn't want the shot. He doesn't want the basketball. So it's weird. I guess he's not 6'11". I might be exaggerating, but he's 6'9", 6'10".
No, he might be 6'11". He's 6'10" or 6'11". I think you're right.
People were hoping he was going to be Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson was 6'10", 6'9", point guard. He wasn't the greatest shooter when he came out of school, but he was way better than him, and he developed into a really good shooter. But when I say shooter, I mean like 3-point shooter. Mm-hmm. He was always a good shooter, mid-range around the basket.
Right.
This guy, he didn't have a mid-range. He didn't have a mid-range game. He didn't have a long-range game. Just the fact that somebody's taking a chance. Why would you want that on your team? He's just taking up space for somebody else that could be contributing. Yeah. I don't understand.
It's stupid. How this guy gets consecutive chances and he does nothing with it. Eventually, some teams are just gonna have to give up. I would hope, but we're gonna move on here from the
one other thing before you move on. I just want to just to review the big trade that we talked about last time on our last show with Luka and AD.
Oh my goodness!
We were talking about. AD, how he's always hurt and all that. Well, guess what?
The Mavericks got the full experience in one game. This man got 26 points, a number of blocks, and I think he got a double-double, and then he gets hurt.
He leaves
How do you get the full Anthony Davis experience. You can't make this up. I mean, I hate laughing at injuries because they're not funny ever. But, I mean, they got the whole Anthony Davis stereotype in one game. That is, you can't make it up. You can't write it any better than that.
That's what he does. 26 points, a whole bunch of blocks, a whole bunch of rebounds.
Oh, my God.
And he leaves the game early because he got hurt. And he said after the game, I believe the next day or two, he goes, "Oh, not a big deal, nothing." And then we find out yesterday or the day before, he's going to be out for a month. There's several weeks.
Not a big deal.
Up to a month.
And, no.
Well, a month is playoff time almost. So he's going to come into the playoffs and he's going to be rusty. And
obviously, though, the Mavericks obviously aren't going to get a Luka Doncic from this trade. But I honestly think Max Christie with the right coaching could become a very solid player for the Mavericks. He's young, he can shoot the ball, and he can run an offense. If you look at guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he wasn't good he was actually on the Clippers before the Thunder. He was coming off the bench, and then he got traded to the Thunder, and he was this whole different player. I think the Mavericks could do a lot with this trade. Obviously, you need more than that for Luka, but you got to take what you can have. But, yeah. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because tonight, Monday, it's February 10th, Luka Doncic is expected to make his debut tonight against the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, it's a good team to make your debut against.
And it's at 10:30 p.m. That's the only...
Of course, yeah.
The only kicker.
Yeah, no, unless Luka gets hurt, and he's out for a month, I guess the Lakers definitely won
this trade doesn't look good at all. I'm not going to lie. This is not looking good for the Mavericks, but
I got to tell you, that's probably one of the biggest factors why the Lakers did it. I mean, obviously they wanted Luka because he's the future. LeBron's although the way LeBron's playing right now, who knows? But he's playing like an MVP right now. So, but I wouldn't expect him to play more than another year or two.
Mm-hmm.
So Luka is, just going to take over, and that'll be that. But part of it also had to be in their minds. Listen, AD, great as he is, he's always hurt.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get Luka for a guy that's always hurt, let's do it.
Yeah, that was probably one of the craziest trades I've ever seen in sports history. That was just crazy. But I want to make sure we have time for two more things. Obviously, the Super Bowl. But before that, we had a pretty wild weekend of college hoops. Super Bowl is over. It's March time. It's college basketball time for fans in the United States. First game actually took place on Friday that I want to go with. It was the St. John's Red Storm versus UConn. And, Dad, this St. John's team is something else this year. They finally get their big win against the UConn Huskies.
Yeah, they've had a big week. They beat Marquette earlier in the week, and then they play UConn on Friday night. Back-to-back. UConn and Marquette were the top two teams in the Big East with St. John's. They were ranked ahead of St. John's before this. UConn wasn't, but Marquette was. So, and St. John's took care of Marquette, and then they took care of UConn. So, it's been a long time. St. John's, when I was growing up, when I was your age, was a perennial top 15 team all the time, every year. They were good. And the last 20 years or so, they've had few and far between. I mean, they haven't won a NCAA tournament game since 2000. That's 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a long time coming. They're the team of New York City. Connecticut, UConn kind of took that away from them with all their success. But St. John's is the real team from New York. They play, they're from New York City. UConn, is Connecticut, even though it's real close. But it's really good to see that Garden is hopping, They play half their home games at Madison Square Garden. That place is packed again.
And
it's just
this is a team that plays great defense. They love to play defense, and when you're going into the tournament, that you might be asking yourself, like, where's the scoring? And ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you right now, it's R.J. Lewis Jr. He is on an absolute tear this year. He's averaging 17.6 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, 2.3 assists. He is the scorer of this team, and when he's on, he's on.
Yeah, he's their guy. He's their go-to guy. If they need a big basket, it's him.
And let me tell you, if you're watching that game, that inbound, that when they took a timeout, they drew an out-of-bounds play. That was absolute genius. They had R.J. Lewis Jr. sell the fake one way and then peel back the other way for a wide-open jumper. I don't know, but that was one of the most genius out-of-bounds plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a really good play. That was kind of like, the play.
Yeah.
And, he's really good. They're not a team of... They have a lot of good players. Mm-hmm. He's their best player, and the rest of the team
looks like their center. How do you say his name? Ejiofor, yeah.
Ejiofor. Zubi Ejiofor.
Looks like he's playing pretty good.
He's been playing really good. Richmond is a unique player.
He's a weird player.
That's a unique player. He's one of those guys. He plays point guard. He's a big guy, physical guy.
Looks like he's always trying to get to the rack.
He can, and he can almost get there anytime he wants.
Right.
Sometimes he'll throw up a crazy shot, but he's got a weird shooting. You watch him at the free throw line. You're
my goodness.
And he's a good playmaker.
He's leading the team in assists and steals. That shows it right there.
So, and they just have a team, a really solid team.
This looks like a complete team.
A very deep team. And
how about Davon Smith coming off the bench?
He's a good player. He was hurt, so he's starting. He's got to find his footing. He was playing really good earlier in the season, but he missed a few games, so he's got to get back into it. The only thing that worries me with this team is, do they have enough scoring to make a deep run in the tournament? They don't have good three-point shooting other than Smith.
Right.
Brady Dunlap, he's out for the season. He was their three-point shooter, so he's not playing the rest of the season. So that would worry me. I don't really see this team. I could see them getting to a Sweet 16, maybe. You never know. The tournament's crazy. We all know crazy things happen. But I just think they're probably one shooter away from being an elite team. Mm-hmm. But, hey, they're back. Rick Pitino, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And it's great to see. They're leading the Big East. Unless something crazy happens, they should win the regular season title. And then, they get the Big East tournament. So who knows? But, it's good to see them back. And New York City hopping. It'd be the Big East tournament. That would be a great tournament. Mm-hmm. When St. John's is good, that Big East tournament is crazy down there. So it's good to see them back and livening up the Garden.
One of three games we are going over from college basketball. The second one and third one are two big upsets. Florida and Auburn. That one was crazy. The number one team goes down. But Auburn's gone down by Duke this season, and I think that's their second loss this year. So they're still number one. Florida Gators are really good this year, so I can see that. That was a battle of powerhouses right there.
Yeah, that whole SEC is good. I heard that they're probably going to get 10 teams into the tournament.
Yeah, that SEC deserves a lot of representation.
I mean, they get me.
So, the ones that are eye-opening, obviously, the SEC is literally the top three. You got Florida, you got Alabama, and you got Auburn. Those are your top three teams.
Yeah, and Alabama went to the Final Four last year.
Yeah, they were good last year.
And they've got some of the guys back that was on that team. So, look out for them.
Sears and Nelson.
Yep.
Those are the guys that really were the leaders last year, and they're back this year.
And they're back, so look out for them. They can score.
What about their center for Florida?
I really don't know much about Florida.
I mean, looks like that Clayton guy, he played really good. I remember last year that game against Vanderbilt, or no, not Vanderbilt, excuse me, Colorado. That was a very good game, and he played great. So he's back this year, and they got a lot of scoring, it looks like. Clayton, Martin, Richard, and Condon all averaging double digits.
That's an interesting, like I said, conference. Auburn, Alabama, Florida. Any one of those teams could go all the way. I'm sure there'd be a sleeper team, too, coming out. Tennessee's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably the top 4 teams in there.
Yeah, they're good again this year. I mean, even Connect going to the draft, they're still right up there in the top team. So, but I do want to go over Duke, the number 2 team on a 16-game winning streak. It snapped in Dickie V's first game back at the commentary desk. And boy, he came back right at the perfect time. Clemson, they may have not been ranked up until now, but this is a very good team.
Yeah, look at them. They're 11-2 in the conference. What are they, 18-5?
Now they're 19-5.
Yeah, sneaky good. Like I said, they weren't even ranked, which is kind of weird to have that good a record but not be ranked. But
rankings have been weird this year. But Clemson's main guy, if you watch any of their games, Chase Hunter. He is a spectacular guard. And then you got guys who can clean up at center, like Scheifelen. Yeah, Clemson's got a very good team, and I could see them. They made a good run last year. In last year's tournament, they went to the Elite Eight, and I could see them going right back there. Honestly, they have a very good, deep team this year.
That's why I'm surprised they were that good last year, and they're not getting a lot of love from the rankings this year, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
The ACC in whole, which is weird. Up until a few years ago, the ACC was considered one of the best conferences in basketball, but the last few years, they haven't been getting a lot of love. The top couple teams, and that's it.
What's crazy is, I mean, it's going to take a miracle, but Clemson's right up there for first in the ACC now.
And they have the head-to-head so far with Duke. I don't know if they play again. They might.
Duke's probably has a good chance of winning out, but that Clemson team, man, they are probably going to finish second in the ACC, and then you got the ACC tournament, which they could very well win. So this is a very good Clemson team.
Yeah, that was a great win. I didn't get to see that. I saw by the time I noticed that they were.
What's crazy is you look at the final score in that game. It was obviously by a comfortable margin, but with like 20 seconds left, Duke's down by 2, right? And they have the ball in who you want, Cooper Flagg's hands, and when he goes to drive to the rack, he slips. He had an open lane, and he ended up slipping on the wet court, and then they didn't score after that. So, and then Clemson won it with free throws after that. So it was a pretty crazy ending. And those Clemson fans, they stormed the court immediately when it hit 0.
Yeah, that was awesome scene there. College basketball, when there's an upset like that, it's always a great scene at the end. Yeah. Kudos to Clemson. I'm glad. I don't want to see Duke just demolish everybody. It was good to see that somebody took them down from the conference.
For sure. And obviously, the last thing we have to go over is the big but not so big game. Eagles versus Chiefs Super Bowl. And ladies and gentlemen, the Eagles are this year's Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, we both picked the Eagles to win, but we both thought it was going to be close.
Yeah, not this bad. This final score, ladies and gentlemen, 40-22.
And it wasn't
honestly, it was worse than that. The Chiefs didn't score. Get this, they didn't score a single point at halftime. They were down. I think 27-0 at halftime.
24 actually.
24-0. But that was
it was almost the end of the third before they scored.
I know. Yes. Yeah. They almost
34-0 at one point. Just total domination. I haven't seen a Super Bowl like this in a while. We had a stretch of them quite a few years ago where there was a lot of blowouts. This is the first one in a while.
Eagles' defensive line absolutely tore apart Mahomes. A Super Bowl that this reminded me of, obviously this other Super Bowl was way closer, but the Broncos and Panthers was very similar to this one. Cam Newton, the MVP, the best player in the league in that game, was getting pressured after pressure after pressure, and he was just the fumble ended up losing him the game. And this game, Mahomes, he couldn't breathe. He couldn't even take the snap without seeing green jerseys. So that was a great game from the defensive line. Honestly, though, from Mahomes' body language, he looks like defeated and tired after like the first half, even before that.
That whole team looked kind of just. It's like they got punched in the mouth and they could just never recover.
I know we don't like giving Chiefs credit very often, but Xavier Worthy played one heck of a game, even though they lost. If you go down, he had almost 200 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. And he caught all 8 of his targets.
Yeah, that's a little misleading because it's.
I know it was garbage time, but still, he played a good game.
He played a good game.
You can't look at those stats and tell me you didn't play a good game.
Oh, he played okay. Yeah, he played good.
Okay.
I mean, but.
But yeah,
the game was over.
We need to be talking about the Eagles.
You can't. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you can't look at stats on the Chiefs side because
those are all in garbage time.
It's all in garbage time. That game wasn't that close.
Fair enough. I see what you're saying. But yeah, Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, they combined for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they were both of Hurts' 2 touchdowns. Hurts made almost 0 mistakes in this game. And I didn't see the ceremony. Did he end up winning the MVP of this game?
He won the MVP.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I did. Excuse me. The MVP was the defensive line.
Yeah.
But you can't give it to. I mean, who are you going to give it to? You can't really say.
That was a team effort.
It was a team effort. So had for an individual, Hurts was the guy you had to give it to.
I mean, Saquon Barkley he didn't play his best game in this one. The thing is, like we said, you have to force the Eagles to throw in this game. The Chiefs did that well, but the thing was, Hurts was slinging it. He was just completing pass after pass, and man, he played a wonderful game in this one.
The Chiefs' defense played a pretty good game, but it was the fact that their offense, the Eagles' defense, just demolished.
When your offense isn't doing anything, you can't win games.
I mean, you got pick 6, and
the defense can only do so much, you know. I mean, like
they stopped that run game, but it was the Eagles' defensive line just put too much pressure on Mahomes. That's the worst game I've ever seen him play.
Yeah.
Ever.
By far.
Any game I've ever seen him play. Regular season, playoff, Super Bowl, whatever. That is by far the worst game he has ever played. He had 24 or 34 yards passing at the end of the first half.
Yeah. I mean, that is not like Mahomes.
That's just domination. Those are Kenny Pickett numbers from a couple years ago. Remember? Remember how bad he was in the first halves of games there?
Right.
For the Steelers? That's what that was. No, it wasn't all Mahomes' fault. I mean, the offensive line was horrible. But, I mean, that was just... And I got to, the coaching staff, remember how we said that how Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo were just going to outcoach the Bills' coaching staff? Well, they got totally outcoached in this game.
Yeah, that was something else. Sirianni, he's a questionable coach, but he called one heck of a game this year.
Their coordinators, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio for the defense, totally out-coached the other coordinators, Spagnuolo and Nagy, whoever's. I mean, Reed was calling the offense, I guess, but they made no adjustments. I don't think they could have won anyway, but it's like they didn't change anything they were doing.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad game if you're the Chiefs. Not used to that domination, I'll tell you that. But with that being said, let's head into our plays of the week. Well, our first play of the week has to come from the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, play fake. He's going to unheel it up 27 and add on to the domination with a touchdown to Devontae Smith.
Just when you think they're going to run the ball, they go with a bomb to Smith. What a play.
They fooled everyone in the world in America. They fooled the defense, they fooled the sidelines and the fans watching by passing this ball to Devontae Smith. And it was beautifully executed by Hurts and Smith. Coming from the Hornets and Spurs, we'll show you the whole ending in this one. Ball, drives, kicks. It's Bridges for the lead. Got it! From the corner, he was wide open, and the Hornets have a 1-point lead. Then, ladies and gentlemen, some absolute madness right here. The Spurs, they get it into their new acquisition. De'Aaron Fox has to get it off. He shoots. He got it. He got it. But ladies and gentlemen, it was waved off. The game winner from De'Aaron Fox was waved off because he didn't get it off in time. Some absolute crazy ending in the NBA. And you see it right there.
Oh, man. He's like a tenth of a second too late.
Man, it was crazy because even after they waved it off, Fox was still celebrating. He knows that in heart was the Spurs win.
Crazy.
Coming again from the Super Bowl, Chiefs and Eagles. Mahomes rolling, throwing, intercepted. It's intercepted by Cooper DeJean on his birthday. And on his birthday, he has a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
What a play from the rookie. We thought they'd be some impact play from that secondary, and right from the get-go, they were on top of it.
Coming from Duke and Clemson, this was what I was talking about earlier in the episode. They get it in the hands of who they want. Flag goes, and he slips. He slipped, and they called a travel on Cooper flag. And that was a huge call in that one.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. That's crazy.
Going to the rack, looking for a game win, and they get right on that spot.
Man, he's lucky he didn't get hurt on that one.
Looked like he was limping a little bit. He's obviously fine, but that reminds me, Dad, when Zion Williamson, another Duke player, blew through his shoe against North Carolina. Wow.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Well, that was the end of today's podcast, but let's go to our top performer and biggest disappointment from this week. Dad, you start us off.
Well, I got to go to the Super Bowl. I'm going to go with my top performer. I'm going to go a little out of the box. I'm going to go, well, not out of the box. I'm going to go Josh Sweat. Absolutely dominated the Chief offensive line. 2.5 sacks. He was in the backfield the whole game. He's my performer of the week, or of the week, day, Super Bowl, whatever. And my disappointment is Andy Reid. For as great a coach as he's supposed to be, he knew going into this game that his offensive line was the weak link. Mm-hmm. They didn't do any adjustments. They didn't change anything up to help that offensive line. They did nothing. They just let them out there to one-on-one when they couldn't block them one-on-one.
Right.
And he made no adjustments. So he is my disappointment of the week.
Well, I'm going to go for my top performer. I think I'm going to have to go college basketball since you went Super Bowl. But for my top performer, I am definitely going to go with Ian Shiflin as a player, but the whole Clemson Tiger team. They really came together in such a huge game against the number 2 team in the country, and they shocked the world and beat Duke. I want to do one more top performer because I think he deserves a little bit of love too. R.J. Lewis Jr. He goes into Connecticut, and absolutely, he's knocking down every single shot he gets. And those two are my top performers of this week. And probably my biggest disappointment, it's got to go to Duke. They, specifically Cooper Flag, He came into that game not ready to play. He came alive in the second half near the end, but he was very disappointing, so that will be my disappointment. Well, with that being said, that will be the end of today's podcast. Once again, I'm Preston, and that's my father, Mike, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Goodbye.